I'm joined by Alizee Buysschaert, co-founder of Zero Waste Shanghai. So we saw one story. Tell us more about this philosophy of zero waste and what kind of response you've seen in China so far.
So in China, it's the last year has been pretty upcoming. So we see a lot of things happening in Beijing, in the big cities, and the response is pretty mixed. There are people who are very open-minded. I mean, very enthusiastic about this new kind of lifestyle. But then you also see a huge part of young people who kind of struggle with the fact of giving up that convenience for the sake of the environment. So that's one big thing that we see, like how do you say no to take out food with colleagues? How do you say no to buying cheap things on Taobao, Tmall? So it's pretty mixed, but we see that there's more and more a trend of people like having this peer pressure amongst their friends who they say, okay, I have to be more environmentally conscious, and so they try to do things at their pace. But then again, it's very, very mixed. It also depends where you live. If you live in a small village or in a big city, it's very, very different.
It does seem pretty intimidating when you think of all the things that you'd have to give up with the conveniences. But if you were to advise me to start living zero waste, what would be the first step?
Well, so globally, the zero waste movement follows the rule of the 5 R's. They follow also like a sequence. So you start with refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, and rot. So the first thing I'd say, like refuse what you don't need, means like plastic bags, mostly straws, these goodie bags that you receive that you actually don't need at conferences. So we'd start with refuse and then basically reducing your consumption in general. The easiest thing to have a big impact immediately at your home would be to tackle the kitchen, try to find things in bulk, would be try to reduce the way your beauty products, like find soap in bulk. And then also one big thing, and that's something that we do really well, is to compost your foods, because studies have shown that 30% of urban household waste is pure organic foods. And if you can already just compost this by having an urban compost bin at your home, you would reduce that waste already by 30%. So that would be already very significant.
And Alizee, how does zero waste compared with recycling? What is the difference between the two? Because they seem somewhat similar.
Yes, so recycling is part of the zero waste movement, but if you look at the sequence, the recycling comes almost last. So recycling, yes, is good, but we have a saying here in the green community of Shanghai that recycling is just not the option, it's not the solution. So before you actually think of recycling, you should tackle the refuse, reduce, and reuse parts of the movement. Recycling is good, but the thing is, in Shanghai, the recycling scene is very different. On a national level, they're really, really good. They're very efficient. They have incredible infrastructures. But when it comes to a local level, recycling happens through an informal system, but we don't know where the trash ends. We don't know if it's being recycled properly, if it's being recycled at all. So we have to be very conscious with like recycling. People say, oh, if there's a recycling solution, that's great. I can just go ahead and recycle. But we try to say zero waste is not about recycling. Zero waste is really by reducing first what you have, and then whatever you have left, yes, that's then recycling. So I wouldn't think of those two as two separate entities. I think they're definitely they're linked somehow. But for us, like for me, recycling is just not. It's not okay. I'll recycle. That's it. I've done my part. For me, zero waste is the refuse, reduce, reuse is where you start with, and then you go to recycling.
All right, Alizee Buysschaert, thank you for joining us from Shanghai.